here's my first question for you. It will be about, well, we're gonna have some Transformers questions, some composing questions, and some composing for Transformers questions. Start with the Transformers. My question
Transformer,
for
let's do it.
yeah. My question for you is, what's your background with the brand growing up? Like favorite character, favorite toy? That's what I'm wondering.
Absolutely. So I grew up in the 80s. So I was playing with all of those toys. Let me tell you, I loved my Optimus Prime. I believe I had the Optimus Prime with the rig extension, the mobile base. So I would play with that thing all the time. And I even had a Starscream, and my brother broke it once, and I was super angry with him because he broke my Starscream. But I would also say that I probably resonated most with most kids with Optimus Prime, his ability to find the best in people, his willingness to sacrifice himself, his leadership capabilities. I mean, who didn't love Optimus Prime? So I remember vividly pretending to be Prime on the playground as a kid. So, Transformers has been with me for quite some time. It was the uh, franchise, the story of my childhood, and I'm really overwhelmed to be a part of this next chapter.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. But just to let you know, since I'm a toy reporter as well, there is currently a Starscream, I believe, available from Walmart now that they reissued. So if ever
No
yeah,
way.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can
So
get
if
it
you're
now
worried
because
about, you can get it
I'm
now. Yeah,
and
yeah.
rub it in my brother's face. I
You
still
can exact. That's right. Yes, yes. Although it's funny you see you broke it because that's the kind of toy that back then you would always undo stuff to put it back together. So you must have done something really tough to break it apart.
Oh no, he
Anyways,
really broke it. He
all
was
right.
so angry with me, so he broke it.
Okay, good. Now, composing questions. This is something I've had a question for ever since I learned that Miles Davis had done the composition for a French film because I went to an exhibit. And my
Mm.
question, and hopefully you'll answer it for me. Well, I'm sure you will. Is that so? I get like writing a song, you're writing like the sheet music for like your guitar, but like for a whole orchestra, do you write
Mhm.
for individual pieces? Do you have a theme that you start with the melody first and then you see which instruments you incorporate? That's what I've always wanted to know. So that's my question.
Well, film music, it's about telling a story, and it's about creating an emotion. And there are really three things that we work with music specifically, and then we'll talk about instrumentation in a second. So the three
Okay.
things we look at like is melody, harmony, and rhythm. Right. So those are like the three sort of building blocks. And we try to create melodies or themes that are memorable, that are attached to a character or a place or a particular situation. And then when that character goes into a particular scenario, we want to give them the harmony that supports that scenario. Is it heart wrenching? Is there loss? Is there inspiration? Or are we trying to, show heroism? All those ideas can have certain harmonies that kind of go and support those ideas, even though the melody is the same. And then, of course, there's rhythm and pace, right? Do I want something that's slower, something that's faster, something that's got higher energy, something that's more sort of languid, right? So those are like the three building blocks, and those are devoid of instrumentation. So
Okay.
first thing I kind of think about is what melody, what harmony makes sense for what we are seeing on screen. And I think about that. And maybe I start with my melodies on the piano. So I'm sitting there, it's my piano that I've had since I was a kid, and start to work out those melodies and those ideas. And then I think about harmonies. So how would this melody sound in a heartbreak situation? How would this melody sound as inspirational? How would I cast this melody in harmony if I want it to be heroic? So I think about those kinds of things. And then when it comes to the scene, that's where I start thinking about instrumentation, right? So when I'm looking at the scene and I know I want to put this melody here, and I know that the scene needs this kind of emotional support. So there's the harmony I want to use. Now we're talking about instrumentation. And I think about, especially with an orchestra, well, what do I want the strings to do? What do I want the brass to do? What is the percussion going to do? Is there a piano involved? Are there synth sounds involved, right? And I try and pull those together based on what's happening on screen, based on what's required to tell the story through music. So that sort of instrumentation question, I think, really comes based on when I'm applying the music, when I'm applying that melody and that harmony and that rhythm, when I'm applying that to the picture, that's what I'm going to think about instrumentation. I can put the melody in just strings, right? And
Okay.
get a slower pace, and that will be lush, right? Or I could actually put the melody in brass, and now all of a sudden it becomes heroic. So I think those questions really depend upon the specific application of the music for that instance.
I see. So, but the idea is that you start with the melody itself, and then you see which instruments to bring it
That's
in. If I
correct.
can sum up what you're saying, yes.
That's correct. So I always start with the melody, and the melody was important because no one can sing a harmony. No one can sing, a flute line. What they're going to sing is the melody. And that's what I want people to walk away with when they watch a movie is what is that melody? And, those themes that we have in the Transformers movies, the ones that were written by Steve Jablonsky,
Yes.
those melodies are part of who I am. And I've grown up, well, I was an adult by the time I heard them, but
Me too.
but they really stuck with me over the years. And I thought they were the perfect complement for the story of those movies. And it's those melodies that stick with you. So, in Rise of the Beast, it was the same thing. How can I start to create melodies that will stick with these characters so that when you leave the theater, when you finish watching the film, you have those melodies stuck in your head?
Okay. Now about that, I got a question. So I know that Mr. Jablonsky, he collaborated a bit on this too, right? If I'm not mistaken, I saw you posted it. Okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah, it is. I am very blessed to have had his presence on this film. One of the producers had the great idea of bringing Steve in to work and mentor me because, look, it's a huge undertaking. He wrote so much iconic music for these series. And as my being the composer was announced to the public, people began writing me, fans began writing me and saying, oh, these themes, the music that Steve wrote, it was the music of my childhood, right? It had meant so much to me. So I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do anything that has that same level of love and attachment and be iconic for this series? I was really blessed that the producers were able to introduce me to Steve. He came in and we started by workshopping some cues. So there was some scenes in the movie that, were big epic scenes. And I was like, what, Steve, I would really love to get your thoughts on these. Okay. So I started writing music for those. I put it to picture, sent it to him. He gave me his thoughts and ideas, maybe consider changing this harmony here, maybe move this over there, that kind of thing. So I got his blessing or his thoughts on like how to sort of craft this music for these scenes. Then I would do that, send it back to him, and we would iterate on that. Then I would iterate with the director and blah, blah, blah. And then we would finally get something that actually was being recorded and fully produced.
So then, a consulting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, we're not quite done yet. No, he's not done yet. So then he showed up at our sessions as well. So he was actually interested, and that's one of the pictures you might have seen on Instagram, is him being there and being an ear in the room and providing sort of some guidance and some feedback. And then another thing that he did, which I'm really proud of, is we had this idea of we want to pay homage to the themes that so many people love, right, in the movie.
Yes.
So my thought was, hey, at a certain point in the movie, I would love for you, Steve, to write a medley of the old themes and the new themes and weave that together into a piece of music that we can then highlight in the movie. So, and he did that. So, in the movie, there will be a time where you actually hear a medley of themes the new ones for the film, as well as bringing back some of the beloved themes from the past films together in one beautifully done piece of music. And that was done because I know the fans wanted to have that experience. So we're giving the fans what they want. And it's wonderful for me as well.
Well, the soundtrack list actually came out today from Paramount Pictures. So in it, we see that. Yeah. So it's kind of there. But there's a cool thing, because you said past movies. There's also Vince DiCola's music that's in the soundtrack.
That is correct. I was wondering.
Is that also woven? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so that is absolutely correct as well. I mean, I was kind of hoping that would be a surprise for people when they go see it for the first time. But apparently it got leaked already. So I'm like, dang, man.
It's Paramount. It's an official leak. Yeah.
Paramount leaked it. So they can't get mad at me for talking about it.
No.
One of the things that Stephen Caple Jr. came to me earlier about was like, we all know Unicron is in this film, right? It makes a big debut. It's all over the trailer, so I'm not spoiling it.
No,
So,
but just so you know, you can spoil anything because this interview will always be released after the movie is released. So you're
it
able
will
to
be released after the movie.
Yeah. So you're able to do as many spoilers as you want. This is fun.
I had no idea.
This is good.
We're gonna talk then. Okay.
Yeah, by all means.
As long as I don't spoil it for you, though.
No, I'm a journalist. I'm used to it. That's fine.
Oh, okay. I had no idea this is coming out after the film.
Yes, that was that was stipulation.
Okay, got it. Perfect. So Stephen Caple Jr. approached me early on when I was, first hired. He said, "You know what? We got Unicron in the film," and he was in love with the opening Unicron theme that was from the animated movie. It was that glass harmonica sound, right? It was a glass harmonica, very eerie as we see Unicron sort of pass into the frame and move toward the planet, right? So he's like, we need to bring that back, and we think the fans are going to love it. I said, you know what? It's a great theme. It's a great tune. And there's something about it to have such a eerily, almost delicate sound with such a massive being, right? A massive, terrifying being, a world killer. But yet you have this little glass harmonica, right? That's being used to signify this creature. And there's something interesting about that. So I said, we need to delve into that. So I said, okay, great. So I took that same theme and I, used the same glass harmonica sound. I processed it a little bit differently so it sounds a little bigger. And you will hear that at the top of the movie when we see Unicron coming in. We introduce that same theme sort of reproduced in using modern techniques, the full orchestra, all that stuff. And that now has become Unicron's theme throughout the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So, but also you're telling me, so we now know that the movie begins essentially in a similar fashion to the 86 film.
That's correct. And again, we're doing this after it launches. So.
After all. But by the way, this is bringing up a very important part. Now, I don't know how we'll describe it properly. So, because the film, the marketing has, I believe, purposefully been, I would say, tipped on saying if this is a fully new continuity or not. Okay. Because, for example, like this is getting really geeky, but I don't know if you watched the let's say the fifth one, the last night. Turns out that Unicron was on Earth.
Unicron was inside the Earth. That's
yeah. Now this doesn't jive at all.
Okay. I mean, when I saw that, it made no sense.
No sense. Now, so I get that. So now I'm wondering: are they just like giving us like saying forget this film, but still taking place with the same thing? Like they're picking and choosing what they choose, and there's also the fact that using Mr. Jablonsky's music in it is also giving a musical cue to the fans that this is within the same continuity or not. So my question, so that's where I'm getting. That's my question.
Your question. So, that's way above my pay grade. I'll just get paid to write the music, not
necessarily
comment on the content.
Well, we'll say your interpretation as a composer.
I would say this. Right now, there are no direct tie-ins to the Bayverse.
Okay.
There is nothing in the story and nothing in the, let's say in the story or even in the arc of the characters that is a direct tie-in or alludes to the Bayverse movies.
Okay.
So, our movie takes place in 1994. I think Sam Witwicky would have been 3 years old at this time.
Yeah.
So, it's way before. And, my thought is, we'll see. We'll see where it goes after this. So right now, there is no sort of stake in the ground yet.
I see.
Is this part of the Bayverse continuity or is it a complete reboot? It's like, we're going to put the stake in the ground. We're going to do this thing with this movie, and then we will see where the story takes us.
And the music works both ways then. It's both an homage to the previous films. And if it ends up going a different direction, it'll just be as an homage to previous films, including the 86 one.
That's correct.
If it ends up tying in, then that's why the music was there, because there's a how can I say, there's a through line in the composition.
That's correct.
That's a fair assessment.
We're basically playing both sides right now. I
just noticed that. That's all good. Okay. Now about 1994, you brought something really good. So it's a new setting. It's also very urban setting. I was curious, is there, and because you've worked with Nas before as well in your previous compositions. Yes. is how can I say this? Compared to your previous compositions, what are you adding to this film that brings in that more urban environment and that more 90s kind of rap vibe?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that sort of gave me a career was in my past films, being able to authentically integrate hip hop, R&B, gospel, into film scores.
Hmm.
I grew up with that music. I played that music as a kid, right? I produced that music in high school and college. So this is my world. This is where I come from. So, I was able to authentically in my past scores, whether it's Redfall, which is a spooky hip hop
Yeah,
score,
I was gonna
right?
ask about that. Yeah.
Or United Skates, which was a documentary about Black roller skating culture. And I was able to do a lot of sort of hip hop based score for that as well. But this movie is not a hip hop movie. It's not a hip hop score, right?
Okay. Okay.
But it was important to me that where the environment of our characters seasons or flavors the score. This is unmistakably a Transformer score, big orchestral, hybrid synths, right? Big old epic percussion. So the fans are this is part of that world. And we wanted to make sure that it was the same language of the past scores. But for me, I wanted to make sure that we brought in the seasonings of the local environments. So when we're in Brooklyn, 1994, nothing says hip hop to me more than the Roland TR 808 drum machine, right?
All right.
The iconic drum machine of so many hip hop records. So I wanted to bring that sound in there. So while we're in Brooklyn, you'll hear a Transformer score, but you're going to hear that 808 drum machine being flavored in there and some of the cues, right? And you'll also have what I call a little bit of a Brooklyn bounce, meaning that there will be a syncopation and a rhythm to the orchestra that accompanies what's happening with that 808 drum machine. So you're going to get a sense and a flavor of that. And my goal is to make that be authentic, but also Transformers.
Right, right.
When we moved to Peru, I wanted to make sure that we brought in the sounds of Peru. And again, do that in a very authentic fashion. And for me, that meant the Afro-Peruvian tradition of music with its 6/8 syncopated rhythms and, the specific Peruvian percussion. So I partnered with a guy named Eric de la Cuela, a composer from Peru. He gave me a deep dive on the instruments and the sounds of Peru. And then I also hired a musician named Alex Acuna, who is a legendary percussionist, legendary and from Peru. And he was able to bring in specific instruments from that region of Cusco and Machu Picchu that are there in the score and featured when we're in those parts. But still, it's still all a Transformer score. So I'm really proud of that, bringing that authenticity of those cultures into the score.
Okay. Now about the fact it's a Transformer score, I wanted to know, do you have different scores, different melodies for specific characters within
Oh,
the
yes,
film?
of course, of course. So,
Okay.
we have a theme for the Autobots, which is, a new theme for the Autobots.
Cool.
We have a theme for what I call the home team, which is Mirage, Noah, and his brother Chris. So created a theme to encapsulate the relationship between those three, and I called it the home team theme.
Does that one have some that drum machine in there?
It does have some drum machine in it. So,
Yeah.
when we first see Mirage, you'll definitely hear a boom bap beat underneath his first sort of major transformation, and when he's talking to Noah about joining the crusade. So you'll hear that his theme along with the boom bap, and then you'll also hear that theme again. Remember we talked about having the same theme but in different kind of moments.
Yes.
So
yes.
when Chris is talking with his brother, Noah and Chris are having a heart-to-heart moment, toward the end of the movie where there's a huge sort of change with the relationship between Mirage and Noah, I bring back that theme in more intimate sort of passages with piano and small strings. So that's that same theme as well. So that theme goes through quite a journey.
Okay.
Then we also have a theme for Unicron, which again is an homage to the 86 movie, Vince Cola 86 movie. Then we also have a theme for Scourge.
Okay.
Have a Scourge / the Terracons, right? It's a theme for that group, Scourge / the Terracons. And then we also have a theme for the Maximals. And I'm very proud of this theme for the Maximals because, It is not from the Beast Wars. I'm sorry. We didn't pull
Okay.
the Beast Wars theme. We listened to it, like we're not sure that's right for our movie.
All right.
I did create a theme for the Maximals, which is brand new. And actually, that theme was released as the first single from the album. So that you can listen to that. And I'm very proud of that theme, as a matter of fact, and you'll hear that throughout the movie. And then we also have a theme for the oath. There's a discussion of our oath. And there's a specific theme around that idea of the promise, which also is being used for Elena and her search for the key. So I tried to use that theme to be a part of like this idea of the key, Elena, and the Maximal's oath to protect life. So those are the main themes in the actual film. And then, of course, as we mentioned before, we bring back the arrival to Earth theme toward the end of the movie in an homage.
Okay. Now, about the fact that you have all these different themes for different characters, and you were talking about specific scenes, does that mean that at what level does the film have to be completed for you to get a good sense to write the score that's needed for that scene?
Well, here's the thing. I think there's two levels to writing on a movie like this, because the picture is never locked on a movie like this. The picture is
right.
always changing. I mean, even toward like we're almost like
last second. Yeah.
Last second, right? They are able to edit and change them. So it's not necessarily about waiting till I get picture, because I'm never really going to get like a locked picture. So it was about, working in abstract away from picture. So the first go round of these themes is just to write a piece of music, right? Write something that is evocative of the character or the situation or whatever it is, and write a full, orchestrated mock-up, as we call it. So it's basically all done in the computer. And I have, simulated sounds of what the orchestra will sound like, and of course the synths and the percussion and all that stuff. So we bring that all together. I play that for director. Here's my idea for the Maximals. What do you think? And be like, I love it, or I hate it, or I don't like this, I like that. Okay, here's my idea for, the Autobots theme, or the Prime theme, as he sometimes called it. I love that, We go back and forth. So I just get these themes and hopefully get them in a point where, just as pieces of music, they kind of resonate with the director and the team. Then as picture starts coming in, right, I start throwing these ideas, against picture and saying, oh, let me see if this works over here, that works over there. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. What also happened on this film is, we had these ideas, we put them against picture, they worked, but then as the movie evolves and as the picture changes and as the story evolves, because, we're constantly trying to craft, a story that will resonate with people, some of these pieces of music fall out. It doesn't work anymore. It's not the right vibe. We needed to do something different. So then I've got to write a new piece of music then. And then we repeat that process. But usually toward when we get to the end, closer to the end, it just goes straight to picture. There's no time to do like a suite by itself and to like run that through everybody. It's like we just go straight to picture, and that's really about it.
Okay.
So, I like seeing picture, even if it's an assembly, as soon as possible. So it could just be sequences, let me see what the cold open is. And that's the whole thing. That's all I need. Or a reel. That's all that's ready. I love getting it as early as possible because it really helps my creative process to marinate with the music.
Right. Now, I want to know, because you keep saying that you have different themes for different characters and still very Transformers focused. Now, my question to you is, we have an idea of what Transformers music is, thanks to Steve Jablonsky and the fact that you're made. But so, how do you come up with something that's Transformers, but also being new?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that was the question that kind of plagued me and haunted me for.
I want to know about this and how you figure it out. I really want.
Well, I think Steve did a wonderful job of creating a harmonic and melodic language for the for the movies. And, when I got a chance to talk to him and spend some time with him, I got a sense of like, really, what is the thought process behind that? And, one of the things that Steve talked about was, even though for some of his melodies, even though the notes changed between each phrase of the melody, the rhythm was exactly the same. So that this way, it made it extremely memorable for people. So I stole that,
Okay.
Like, for example, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. It's the same rhythm. The notes are different, but it's the same rhythm. So that this way, it becomes memorable. Also, there's a sense of nobility in those themes, especially the ones associated to the Autobots, right?
Yes, yes.
So
The arrival to Earth, yes.
the arrival, there's
Yeah.
a sense of like nobility, right?
Yes.
To them and honor. So I said, okay, we have to lean into, bringing that idea of nobility and honor. And how do we do that with, again, the melodies and also the harmonic progression? So I had these sort of like ideas that I knew I had to replicate because those were all part of the Transformers world. And then we also talked before about, the hybrid of the orchestra plus the synth. So there were these sort of building blocks, these ideas that I knew we had to have as part of our score. Then it was about, what does my own voice say? How does my voice work? What sort of resonates with my ear, but also making sure that it held to these rules, right? Let's just call them the Jablonsky rules. So moving down in that way and that path was really helpful to me to craft something I think that is going to be new but familiar, recognizable but fresh.
Okay, but how do you like hum it to yourself? Like, that's why I'm wondering, like, that part, that inception in your head of a new idea.
Well, it's funny. Let me back up a little bit. So I knew the director ever since grad school, and we came up together and worked together. And when he introduced me to the studio and to the producers, as putting my name in the hat, it wasn't a done deal. Our relationship was not enough for me to get the gig. I wasn't walking in saying I'm the guy because I worked with Steven, so you have to hire me. That was not the case, right? When the studio did call, and they called my agency, saying, hey, Steven gave JB's name, we would like to hear some music. My agents called me and said, you have no music that sounds like Transformers. You've done lots of documentaries, you've done some TV series, you've done just music, video games, you've done some stuff. So you're not like green. I had like 120 credits to my name, but nothing at the level of Transformers. And quite honestly, how many people really have stuff at the level of Transformers, right? In their back pocket. Like, here it is. So I had to get the bite. So they said, you need to write a demo. That's about 10 minutes long. You need to have it recorded in LA. Hire a videographer to videotape you working with the orchestra while you're recording this. Also to interview you about why, this movie is important to you and why you want this job. A professional editor to edit it all together with footage from the past movies, all set to your score. We need that in. I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? But I went and talked to my wife. I said, honey, I know we're trying to save up for a house, but I need to make this investment. She was a little reticent at first, but to her credit, she jumped on board and we did it. And 2 weeks later, we had a video. And the piece of music that's actually featured in that video is the Autobots theme that we actually have in the movie. So before I knew much about the story, it wasn't even shot yet. I hadn't seen any picture. I just talked to Steven about what the journey was. And everything that I knew about the Transformers world and my own experience in that universe, I pulled that together and created a theme, that resonated with me. And it, you kind of pull it out of the air, quite honestly. Wake up one day and there it is. I've been thinking about it, struggling about it, sit at the piano trying to figure it out. And then one day you sort of wake up, ruminating in the back of your mind, and then, oh, that's it. Now, I also then wait and say, okay, the next day, do I still like it? Day after that, do I still like it? Yes, yes, yes. When I got the film, I tried to throw that theme out. I was like, oh, it's not going to work. Let me try something new, blah, 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 blah. And I did, but it kept coming back. It just kept coming back. So that theme I've been working with for 2 years, and it's still there. And it ended up being, one of the major themes in the movie. So, that being said, I hope people like it. I hope people enjoy it. I hope they can feel it because it's something that really just came out of before anything else, just my love of the franchise and my desire to do something new, but yet familiar, epic, heartwarming, and hopefully start this new chapter in the Transformers universe.
Okay. Well, this is a lot. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I was curious about. But it's cool. It means that there's a difference between like you and I. I mean, you as a musician at heart, you have like you're able to, like you said, pull it from the air. Yeah, about that, I was curious. Your beginnings as a musician, what what musical instrument did you grow up playing?
Well, my mom wanted to hear the organ in the house because she grew up listening to the organ. So she started me at 4 years old on the organ.
The
I
organ.
hated the organ. I didn't like it.
Okay.
So it wasn't my thing. But a few years later, maybe when about 6, 7, they bought a piano. My parents bought a piano, and that became my best friend. And I poured my little, middle school heart into that instrument and high school into that instrument. And I still have that instrument. I shipped it across the country. I grew up in Long Island. It's here with me right now. And actually, these melodies were all written on that piano.
Okay. Okay. This is okay. Cool. Now we don't have much, but about that because I don't know much about music, but I know about being. I know about the discipline to have a kid. Because I'll tell you why. I've got a girl right now who's 7 years old.
Oh yeah.
And she's practicing the gucheng, which is a Chinese instrument. It's like a harp sideways.
Oh yeah,
And
I know that.
obviously, I mean, I want to practice every day, but she says no. But I find that she's very good potential. So I was wondering if you had advice for me, any dad who's trying to get their kid to this higher level, who sees a potential in them, but at the same time doesn't want to be like too tough for that. So I want to know how your parents, because I mean, you got to the place that every parent would wish their kid to be.
Well, listen, I am not a world-class pianist. My piano playing sucks, okay? But what I would say is this. The piano really came alive for me when I started playing the music that I wanted to play on it. And, that ended up being a little bit of jazz, some gospel, right? A little bit of R&B. And when I was able to start playing those things, that's when I was really falling in love with the instrument, right? When I was being forced to sort of do the classical canon, right? Not so much. That's when things were sort of torturous for me. So I think it's about finding what kind of music does your kid like, right? Yeah. And finding out how they can start playing that music on that instrument. I don't know, maybe it's K-pop, maybe it's whatever, I don't know. But if you can find, maybe it's that BTS song, right? Play that on the guzheng, right? Wow. And all of a sudden I'm playing my favorite song on the guzheng. Okay, you can play that, and now you got to play a little Chopin or whatever it is. So you mix it up, the little thing that they want to do and the thing that they need to do, right?
Okay, that's great. Now, final question. It's about because I couldn't help but notice that your glasses are very similar to the glasses worn by the Autobot Wheeljack. Yeah. Is there a thing? And since you're like your friends, the director, I wonder if that's like a cameo of you inside. I don't know.
No, unfortunately not. No. There's no cameo of me and Wheeljack, but I did have these glasses before I saw the Wheeljack animated character. I'll just tell you that much.
Okay.
So, and everybody in the office was like, "Oh," so these got called as the Wheeljack glasses, so they kind of stuck.
Okay, but it's a coincidence. That's what you're telling me.
It's a coincidence. It is a coincidence.
All right.
Oh, maybe it's destiny.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. It sounds good. And now, I don't know if this question will be part of the interview now because we only have a little bit of time and we might cut off. But I was curious. You were saying that you had invested into this instead of you were looking for a house. Now that's all said and done, are you speaking to me from the house that
I'm in the house, baby?
There you go. You did it.
The house.
You did it.
I did it. I did it.
I am.
Family and I, we did it.
I am so freaking happy for you. I'm happy for you, Jongnic.
I'm happy for me too. Honestly, it's a dream come true, and the Transformers community has been so accepting and loving. And I just really hope that everybody enjoys the music that we poured into, and also the movie that we poured so much into. We fought really hard to make this movie, and I hope people really enjoy it.
Well, look, what Transformers fans want is they want to see like bots and not humans. That's the main thing, compared to all the previous films.
Well, there's a ton of that in here. Quite honestly, I think this is the most time we spent with bots.
It looks like it.
Yes, this is the most time we've spent with bots.
You start from there. I think we're on a good way to get all the fans.
I agree. I believe in the past movies, the humans were the main, the bots were the accessories. In this one, the bots are the main and the humans are the accessories.
Okay. Well, look, by the time this comes out, people will have known this, but it's fun. Right. It's fun for me to know that going in. So Jongnic, on this note, I wish you a great day. Thanks a lot for having taken the time today. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you. And
listen, I appreciate you spending the time talking to me today. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to chat.